we do have, I thought I started at 5:30, but I talked a whole minute without anybody hearing it. So the format for this evening, we're going to do some introductions, then there'll be a presentation, and then we will open it up to questions. So we're not going to do our traditional public comments first, because one, we feel that it would be more helpful if you heard the information first. So thank you for coming to our Esser Community Input Meeting. I'm Jim Culkeen, Superintendent. I'm here with...
Hi, I'm Laura Boudreau. I'm the Assistant Superintendent and the co-chair of the SVSU recovery work with Melissa Senecal, our Director of Curriculum Instruction and Assessment. And I'm going to...
With tremendous support from SVSU Director of Finance and Operations, Renee Gordon.
Thank
Renee
you.
Here. Next, who else do we have here? Kate Abbott, want to introduce yourself?
Hi, Kate Abbott. I'm the Interim Director of Student Services.
Darcy?
I'm Darcy Oaks. I'm here as a parent of high schoolers.
Jonathan?
Jonathan Chips, SVSU Equity Coordinator.
We have Nick. He's muted.
I'm Nick Galt, Director of Human Resources.
And Representative David Durfee.
Hi, just here to listen and refresh my memory.
Jackie Kelly, Dr. Kelly.
Yes, I'm here. Oops, wait a minute.
And just so that those that might not know, you are a member of the MAU board in Southwest Tech, correct?
Correct.
Donna, would you like to introduce yourself? Donna Basic, principal of Molly Stark Elementary, is also here with us. So once again, we'll keep admitting people as we go, and we'll do questions at the end. But right now, as Laura said, our co-chairs for Esser funds as Assistant Superintendent Laura Boudreau and Melissa Senecal, the SVSU Director of Curriculum Instruction and Assessment. And they are assisted by Director of Finance and Operations, Renee Gordon. And all the administrators have taken part in this. So, but the one spearheading that are the two who are going to do the bulk of the discussion this evening. So at this time, I'm going to turn this over to Assistant Superintendent Laura Boudreau. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us tonight. So this is an SVSU recovery Esser, ARP Esser community feedback session. And we're going to take care of the acronyms right off the bat. So Esser stands for the Elementary and Secondary Schools Emergency Relief. ARP stands for American Recovery Plan, and that's our primary conversation point tonight. And then IDEA is Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. And we also received money to support our homeless population as well. So tonight...
Laura, can I ask one thing? Just as you get going here. I forgot this part of my introduction. We will not necessarily be answering any questions this evening. This really is a listening event that we want to receive input from interested parties that then we will take back as we build what may be our Esser funding, the spending that we will do. We anticipate that we will have far more requests than we will have funds for. So we're gathering input. That is the purpose of tonight's meeting. We will not be discussing the merits of any particular proposal. So just wanted to make that expectation clear. So we won't be having a discussion or debate on any proposals. We're just here to listen to, make a presentation and then listen to any proposals. Sorry for that interruption, Laura.
So thank you. So I have a request. Jim, can you go into more and do the live transcript, please?
Right there. And
I think it's an 8. I think at the bottom one, live transcript. Is that, so if I'm looking, I just want to make sure we're doing this correctly. Kate. Oh, Kate.
Okay.
Dang. Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, look, I learned something new.
Yeah.
So thank you for that. So to start, I took care of some of the acronyms because I know that they're everywhere in regards to a lot of the work we're doing as a result of the pandemic. So recovery, we're just going to provide a recovery update. So the state of Vermont provided guidelines for districts in the state of Vermont to create recovery plans as a result of the pandemic. And we were required to convene a team that had a diverse membership. The SVSU's recovery team is posted on our website, and I'll share that in a short bit. But we had representation from staff, from community. We did a survey to all of our families, and then also to all of our staff. We also attended or shared information and updates at Bennington Workforce and Education team meetings. Arlington administered a team summer employment survey. They also implemented a pandemic recovery survey. And all of this information was put together into a recovery plan that aligned with 3 pillars: social, emotional, and mental health, student engagement, and truancy, and then academic success, because we know that those 3 pillars are super important as we have planned for recovery, are now implementing our recovery plan. The recovery plan was shared with the Agency of Education, who approved our plan. And then we used the action steps in our recovery plan, which again is posted on our website, to then designate funding from our grants. And so currently we've designated money up to Esser 2. And again, that all can be found on our website. And I'll share a little bit more about that in a short bit. So the next step was then to, we're implementing our recovery plan using the money that has been designated to us. And now we're preparing to use our ARP Esser 3 grant money and also our ARP IDEA funding. And so I'm going to turn this over to Renee for a few minutes just to give you a little snippet about the money piece that comes along with the grant. And then I'll give you the next piece of information.
Thank you. So the funding that has been provided to us is all federal money, and it is flowing to us in several different streams. You heard Laura talk about Esser and Esser 2 already. So those are 2 separate buckets of money that we have fully budgeted, allocated, and these grant awards have been approved by the Agency of Education. Tonight, as Laura indicated, we are hoping to get input on how we can look to spend the ARP Esser money, or also referred to as Esser 3. So Esser 1, we were awarded $1.8 million, Esser 2, just over $7 million, and then the Esser 3 money is about $15.8 million. So we're going to be again, taking, stakeholder input on this, but looking to kind of address what we have already in our approved recovery plan and making sure that we're doing that, through the lens of COVID response. I think we're going to have some significant facilities investments that we might be considering. But again, they all have to tie back to COVID response to make sure that we're addressing, the facilities in terms of preventing, preparing for, and responding to the pandemic. Another funding stream that we received, Laura mentioned already, was for our homeless. So we submitted that grant application today. And then we have the ARP IDEA, so the what we would use for to support student services. And that's about $320,000. So that grant application is also due this week as well. A portion of which will, we've actually got to allocate that out to students that are in parentally placed schools, which would be Grace Christian, Sacred Heart, and I think we have a few students that qualify for those funds at the Village School as well.
Thanks, Renee.
Sure.
So the next update I'm going to provide for you is linked to what's, since the start of this year, some different collaborative opportunities we've had to look for feedback. This fall, we held 10 Title I parent meetings, where at each meeting we shared a little bit about recovery and the options to provide feedback. I attended the October Bennington Continuum of Care meeting and the November Bennington Hunger Council meeting to solicit feedback and share the work of our district. We provided a recovery and Esser update at the November MAU board meeting, again, with information about how to provide feedback on our website. We had stakeholders connected to homelessness come together last week for a brainstorming session, which was, again, a great opportunity for people to provide us with ideas. And tonight we're here, again, providing you with some updates and some feedback about where we're at. And now I'm going to show you where this can happen all the time, because we love feedback. So I'm going to share my screen, I hope.
You should be able to.
Okay, here I go. Okay, here it comes. I hope. Yay, okay. So here's our SVSU website. And you'll notice down here, and we want to thank Katie West. She has really worked closely with us, our communication coordinator, to help make sure that this information is accessible. So you'll notice on the bottom toolbar, there's a tab that says Esser Funds and Recovery Plan. And when you click on that link, it brings you right to the Esser Grant and Recovery Plan. A lot of the information I shared earlier can be found on this site. It's frequently updated as we continue to provide collaborative sessions or collect information. There's information from the state of Vermont with the guidance. It has my contact information, Melissa Senecal's contact information. Lots of there's a link to help support the understanding of one of our favorite links is the acronym dictionary, because with this money, there's just so much to know. So all of these links on the right-hand side of the page take you along our journey. And then the Esser plan, under planning and implementation, you can actually, you can click on needs assessment and data review, and that's the data that was reviewed last year to help plan for recovery. And then planning and implementation link is where our recovery plan is actually housed with all the action steps, which is a multi-year plan. So as a reminder, and Renee kind of shared this at the beginning, we constantly refer back to the recovery plan to pull investments for our grants, because that was the intent of the recovery plan, that it should be guiding our investments. So we're constantly looking at that to make sure that we're on track, and will be required to provide updates to the state. The last link on this page is a feedback form, and that link is always open. It's checked frequently by Melissa Senecal, our Director of Curriculum Instruction and Assessment, and it gives you an opportunity on this feedback form to take a look at the plan. After some people have listened to a presentation we've provided, they've logged in to give us some feedback or shared some ideas or asked us questions. So please know that our website is a resource that you can always go to provide feedback or gather information. And then again, my contact information and Melissa's contact information are located there if you'd like to talk further. So before we start our discussion, the last big piece of information we need to give you before we open the floor to just to allow you to share some ideas is the criteria, which Renee and I spent a lot of time, and Kate with the boundaries that have been provided for us that we always have to think about. So we're always looking at what's in our recovery plan. What are some of the facilities initiatives linked to this criteria that might be a possibility as we plan for the next grant? So I'm going to show my screen, and I'm going to ask my friends, Renee and Kate, to help me out a little bit with when I start to share. Here we go. We'll wait just a moment. Okay. So allowable uses for Esser or Esser ARP funds. And the big thing you need to have in your mind is, as a result of the pandemic, should always be on the forefront. And then we also have to always remember it's something that we're thinking about that's an extension. We can't use the money to fund something we already have. So that's super important to remember. So allowable uses for Esser are educational technology, which can be software, hardware. We can support connectivity and assistive tech for students. Sanitation supplies, purchasing sanitation supplies to make sure our facilities are clean. Mental health services. This has been a big area for us as we've supported students returning from this period of time and a great area of need. Summer extended after school. We were asked to really revision summer and after school. And so we lifted up a summer programming last summer and are in the process now of lifting up after school and really thinking about extension of the school day and something that supports recovery. Maintaining operations and employment, just things that we need just to continue our current practices during this period of time. Planning is 6. So planning for the continuity of learning during any kind of closures. Supporting our vulnerable populations. There's a long list there. Sanitation, professional development. So any kind of trainings that any of our staff need in that area. Coordination with government is another area. Leader resources, preparedness and response. We can also look at our other grants and try to connect money together. An example would be we have interventionists that come out of our title grant money. We also have a different kind of interventionist coming out of recovery Esser money to support science and social studies at the secondary level. Addressing learning loss focuses on currently, because of our recovery plan, an example would be professional learning and materials to support reading and math. And then 14 is construction projects. Projects to improve air quality, facility repairs, improvements to reduce virus transmission and exposure to environmental hazards. And Kate, I'm going to let you cover allowable uses for IDEAB.
Sure. The IDEAB ARP funds can be used for any of the allowable purposes under Part B, including school reentry, disruption in the education of children with disabilities, mental health services, and equity in special education and early intervention services. So any of those areas can be strategies for the Idea B ARP funds.
Thanks, Kate. And so we're about to open up the floor. And so I'm gonna, the discussion prompt is around, we're looking for feedback or any ideas that you might have as we plan for our Esser 3 and IDEA ARP, which will be linked to the state-approved recovery plan and explore facilities initiatives through the lens of COVID response. So with that, we're gonna open the floor. So if you have anything, I know you have a little hand signal that we can.
Yes, go down to the reaction down the bottom right corner. Under reactions, you'll see raise hand. So I see Jackie has her hand up. Go ahead, Jackie.
So what I was thinking of, I know last year I have a couple of young nieces and they were disappointed. One was a beginning reader that they couldn't go to the library to check out books. And I think the library has improved a little, but people are still worried about it. And I was wondering if we could get sets of Kindles for either a borrow basis or a lend and loan basis, and some funding also to download books, particularly recommended by teachers.
So we will add that to our list, Jackie. As we said, we're soliciting ideas this evening. We're not going to debate or place value on one suggestion over another, which is so thank you for that suggestion. Any other hands? Questions?
Darcy.
Give it a minute. You can physically raise your hand if you don't want to do the.
I see Darcy.
Button. Darcy has her hand.
Yeah, Darcy has her hand up.
Thank you. Just an idea related to the after school and extended services that actually is coming to mind today with the high school and the access to athletics. Is transportation already figured in? And if not, I'd want to make sure that that's part of it, thinking about the students that were unable to access sports today, due to transportation issues. Thank you.
I had that discussion with the athletic director this morning about the impact of people not able to get to the middle school for the tryouts. Anyone else? Now would be your time. So I am interested with what the transcript. That's a new feature that we haven't used before, and
it's a great prompt, Darcy.
Yeah. Oh, well, I wonder how it would record me saying Esser. I don't think it even addressed Esser, right? No, so all right. Doesn't do acronyms well, but it got the word acronyms. Huh?
Darcy.
Any other questions, suggestions? Go ahead, Darcy.
Thank you for adding the live transcript. My old ears appreciate it, especially as we're sharing Wi-Fi here. Thank you very much for that. And related, I saw that one of the pieces that might be allowed was related to accessibility. And I'm wondering, as I think about the buildings, the amount of information during COVID that is shared over the intercom and loudspeakers, if there might be some funds available for upgrades, particularly with an eye to improvement for clarity and also for accessibility for students that are relying on that auditory to receive updates and information.
Yeah. Are you asking all schools, or was there a particular school? Because I know that the high school and Southwest Tech have both asked upgrading for the public address system.
Well, I could certainly ask for the schools that my children attend, but I think it would be more fair to everyone to think about all schools in terms of being audio accessible for those updates and announcements. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. This would, for those who just joined us, Leon and Heather, the presentation has been completed, but this is a question or comment period. So if you have a comment that you would like to make or a suggestion on how we may allot some of the Esser funds, this would be your time to do it. You could go down to the reaction button and hit raise your hand, or you can turn your camera on and physically raise your hand if you have a question or comment.
Thank you.
Leon, do you have a comment?
No question. I guess I must have had the time wrong. I just logged on because I thought it started at 6.
We started at 5:30, Leon.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You still have time to ask questions.
No, go ahead. Yeah. The funds are there, but I'm not sure whether, funds are to be used to try to make sure that kids have the right type of stuff when we keep running into these situations that we into now with school closing, ups and downs and so forth along this line. To be able to have some kind of emergency thing in place so that they won't be just missing out. I shouldn't say that way, but I feel that they're missing a lot because we keep dropping them in and out and they just loving it, which right. They don't realize it's hurting them.
And you gave me a good opening there, Leon, to say that, because lots of people are wondering, we are not allowed to do remote learning this year. It's not authorized by the aides to education or the Secretary of Education. So if we do a remote learning day, it doesn't count as a school day during this school year. That determination was made at the level above us. So when we're in a shutdown situation like we are at the high school right now, that day will have to be made up unless the Secretary of Education grants us a waiver, which he does have the authority granted to him by the state board, but there's never a guarantee that you're going to get that. So that is a tool that is out of our hand right now. We can't use remote learning for days that we're in shutdown.
Heather voice, Heather.
Okay, Heather? And then Jackie. So go ahead, Heather.
Hi, I apologize for coming in late and missing the presentation. I'm just like my students. I'm a middle school teacher. And I guess my kind of question or thought, and I'm sorry if this was addressed already, was just if Esser funds are available for example, I run the GLOW program at the middle school, which is for LGBTQ youth. And I know in the previous YRBS surveys, as well as the other survey that I can't remember what it's called that we took last year, the mental health and support of students who identify as LGBTQ is really not looking great. And so as a kind of recovery move, I was wondering if there was a plan to have funds allotted to support whether it's LGBTQ youth or BIPOC youth or other youth who have been especially impacted by our COVID times.
Thank you, Heather. And Heather, I will just share from the presentation we gave that the third allowable use is mental health services.
Okay. And I don't know if you heard this part, Heather. We said we're complying suggestions and adding to our list, but it's not our intent at this meeting to debate suggestions or weigh them for possible approval because we're really gathering and building this list. We anticipate that we will probably have more requests than funding is available, but we don't know that yet, and so we're going to try and get to as much as we can from what is suggested. So thank you for that. Jackie, you have your hand up again, or did you leave it up?
No, I took it down and put it back up again.
Go ahead.
My next suggestion would be, I'm sure you have down air conditioning as one of your hopeful choices. But the other thing that I was thinking of is we have a spring break, so to speak, a winter break that could possibly be utilized for extra activities similar to the summer programs. And I wondered if that would be a viable use of money too. And it certainly would probably help parents, even if it wasn't the whole week, but maybe 2 or 3 days of some special types of programs that would enable kids to come together and learn. Not necessarily remedial programs, but maybe the arts and music programs. That's it.
Thank you for that suggestion. Who else would like to offer suggestions or comments?
Another one.
Yeah. Go ahead, Leon.
This is out there, and which I think is really needed. The relationship between the teachers and the students. To improve that, can monies be sent so that the teachers can spend some extra time doing some out of classroom type things with their students, just to make sure that they get to know the students better? And I'm saying, hey, they could be just paying for lunch in the cafeteria, which everybody gets it anyway. I'm just using that as an example. Or it could be pizza in the bleachers somewhere as opposed to their class. Something along that line where the teacher will be involved with the students in their class outside the arena of the educational environment, just to be able to get them to take the edge off of education and the student, and they'll get to know the students will get to know the teachers a little bit better, and they'll probably work better since we've had the COVID type of thing come up. So I'm just thinking about things like that where we can spend a little money, encourage the teachers to go out and do something with the students and cover it.
Developing relationships is crucial, Leon. Thank you. Renee, would you comment a minute, because Jackie had asked about air conditioning. You could let them know that is in the plans, but subject to approval.
Sure. We have retained the services of a local architectural firm to serve as our owner's representative / project manager. And currently they are going around touring all of our school facilities with administration and our facilities directors to identify what our building needs are through that COVID response lens. And also, just compiling other information. One of our meetings, he said a continual item that keeps coming up is not having enough space. Yeah. So, we have to be a little bit creative on how we can address that through the lens of COVID response. But they are in the process of going through that right now. And then essentially what has to happen in order to spend this federal money, the Agency of Education has set up several kind of buckets that we have to go through. So first we have to put a concept together of just a really general idea of projects with a cost estimate. We have to submit that. They have to review it and make sure that it aligns with the intent of the federal funds. If we get approval from that, then we can go ahead and secure design. So we have to get it designed, and we have to get permits in place, and then we actually have to go back and apply again to the Agency of Education for full project approval before we can do anything with construction. So it does seem like it's going to be somewhat of a lengthy process, but the funds that we're talking about tonight, the ARP Esser funds, actually extend out through September of 2024. So they have to be expended by that point in time.
Thank you, Renee. You did a great job considering you didn't know I was going to call on you. Anyone else with a comment question, concern, something you would like to share with us? Darcy, did you wave at me again?
I did, but I saw Jonathan raise his hand, so I took mine down.
Okay, go ahead, Jonathan.
You said they had to be expended by 2024. Does that mean like upon proposals, they would have to be front end, like planned out, or would they just be expended on a yearly basis?
The cash has to be spent, and we have to apply for reimbursement from the agency no later than September 30th of 2024. So we're moving because the clock's ticking.
And Renee made I don't know if you picked up on this distinction of what she said. It's reimbursement. It's not like we're getting the money to spend. We have to spend it and then get reimbursed, which has Renee in a little bit of a cash flow panic. So can I go back to you, Darcy? Go ahead.
Sure, and then I'll stop raising my hand here. But
it's fine. That's what we're here for.
One of the ideas, although I'm not sure which box it would fit into, but really are issues of digital equity across our community. And I'm thinking about, wonderful resources that have been provided to students, but many of them require access to Wi-Fi. And I'm hearing what you said, Mr. Culkeen, about not being able to learn remotely at the moment. But I'm also thinking about ideas like your wonderful idea, Ms. Voice, in terms of mental health and supporting students. So many times as we've been thinking about ways to offer these things to students during the pandemic, we've been thinking about digitally. And I'm looking around and seeing that I think when we made introductions, I was if not the only, one of few parents that were able to attend tonight. And I think that often relates to issues of digital equity. And so I'm wondering if there might be a way to use some of these funds to build a scaffold that we can lean on now and into the future, perhaps with partnerships. I'm thinking with maybe local fire departments as one idea, because there's a fire department in every neighborhood, right, that is served by the SVSU. And if we were able to build a framework or a partnership with folks that are physically, geographically located throughout our communities, we could offer resources, but in a place where people could access them. And then moving forward, I'm thinking about how many events I've attended to celebrate my children that people weren't able to attend because of issues of transportation. But if we're starting to deliver things digitally, if we had that framework built, maybe more parents or families could participate. So that wasn't a very well-framed idea, but it relates to digital equity, access, and transportation needs.
Well, it's important that you mentioned that, Darcy, and it keeps coming up. We had a meeting earlier today on communication. One of the things that we've learned through this is the inequity in communications by families. That especially as we move towards electronic, it increases how we reach some populations, but probably, it decreases how we reach others because of their access. So that is something that, we're seriously considering. And you've given me the opportunity to clarify something on remote learning. I'm not allowed to shut down the entire SU and say that we're all going remote, but we do have the opportunity to allow students to work remotely who may have to isolate or be home. As long as under Vermont regulations, as long as I have 50% of the student body in school, others can attend remotely, but there are logistics that still isn't worked out with it, because when we were operating remotely before, the teachers had the opportunity to teach remotely, but if they have 90% of their students in their classroom and the other 10% are home or whatever percentage is, it's difficult to do, remote teaching and classroom teaching at the same time. So those are some logistics that we need to think, well beyond this evening on how we're going to do it. But, the digital divide is real, and we see it every day here, and I welcome the suggestion. Thank you. Anyone else would like to offer a suggestion or a thought? We'd love to hear it. All right, I'm not seeing any. Is there any concluding statement you'd like to make, Laura?
No, I thank you so much for coming tonight. I'm also so pleased that Cat TV is here as well. Just as another way to get things out there, and then I hope that you know that the website is also available as a resource. And please just share. And we're
our
open.
Scribe Richard is here. Hi, Richard. Which means there will be minutes of this meeting, and those minutes will eventually find their way onto our website, so you'll be able to review those.
Yeah. So just please stay in touch with us. And if you have one of those wake up in the middle of the night, send us an email. I had a new idea. Melissa and I really appreciate that, and we'll try we'll take all this back and continue to provide updates on the website and when we're able. But we can't thank you enough for joining us tonight. This was really helpful, and I hope you all enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you so much.
I see a hand up.
You do? Where?
There's a hand.
Yeah. Oh, no. I thought it was Renee, but that was my cursor.
Well, I will ask any last questions before I click end meeting or cursor, either one. All right. Well, thank you all, and I appreciate the input. And as Laura said, feel free to send us other suggestions for consideration. Have a good evening, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah.